Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more slug testing, and today we've got probably one of, if not the most highly requested slugs, especially over the last handful of months as now we're in the deer season and stuff. I've definitely wanted to test them for a long time, but they've gotten a little tricky to find here as of recently anyway. So when I was finally able to get my hands on some, I know I had to pick them up and bring them out here to see what they could do. I've definitely got high hopes for them, but we'll see how they perform for us. But as for those slugs I've got today, I brought out some of these. The Brenneke Black Magic Magnum slugs. When I think of Brenneke, it's probably going to be the Black Magics overall. They have several other very iconic loads, the classic Magnums, the Green Lightnings, the Red Magic Sabo slugs, but there's just something about the Black Magic loads in particular that are just kind of distinctly Brenneke when you think of the name. But they are a 12 gauge, 3-inch, 1 3/8 ounce slug, and the back of the box says they're moving at 1502 from the muzzle. If we actually see that number, then we're going to be producing over 3,000 foot-pounds of muzzle energy, so very stout load, that's for sure, and I'm sure I'm going to feel it in the recoil department as well, most likely. But they're claiming a 1.8-inch group at 55 yards, so we'll also see how accurate that claim actually is. So a ton of you guys have wanted to see the Black Magics, so I'm excited to test them, that's for sure. But on a quick side note, I think I kind of prefer the older style blue box of the Black Magics over this newer style. I think Brenneke's changing some of the box art, and I don't know, it just doesn't quite grab your attention the same as the old blue and black box used to, I think anyway. But here's what one looks like for the people that are curious. You can see that black Brenneke slug down in there, so definitely pretty iconic there, that's for sure. As for the shotgun we're going to run them in, I brought out my Remington 870. This is your very standard run-of-the-mill 870, nothing special about it. It is completely smooth bore with a 24-inch barrel on it. We're going to be running a stock improved cylinder for a choke, which is what a lot of slugs recommend, including Brenneke, either cylinder or improved cylinder, so we should be good there. Up on top is a Hawk Vantage IR with the slug gun reticle in it, and for those also curious, yes, this is a receiver mounted scope, and the barrel is not pinned to the receiver, so everything is off of the magazine cap, which is hand tight, and then 3 additional clicks past that amount. That way we keep the same barrel tension into the receiver. So far, everything has been perfect for us. No failure points here, so I don't expect anything to change on that aspect. So we'll see how these Black Magics do through my classic old 870. But as for today's test, I obviously don't have a ton of these to work with, so we're going to have to make do with what I do have. So we're going to shoot 2 groups, one at 50 yards and another at 100 yards, all of which will be through the chronograph as well, so we can be getting our velocities. It might not be a perfectly scientific test, but it will at least give us an idea on if this is a decent performing combo at all. So enough talking, let's get you guys a view of those targets, start shooting some groups, and seeing what we can get from the good old Brenneke Black Magic slugs. Alright, so we'll take a quick look at our chrono numbers before we go look at our accuracy results. The boss claim is 1502, however I did not expect to see that with that heavy of a slug through our 24-inch barrel, and it looks like we were 75 or so feet per second short, so that does make sense. However, we did see one velocity that wasn't comparable to the rest of them, that being our very first shot, which was this 1397 number. I guess it's not too far off compared to what we were getting, but it's definitely lower, and it felt different in the recoil department as well, and it impacted different on our target, which we'll talk more about that here in a second. So not really a fan of the inconsistency there necessarily, but our high was 1459, our low was that 1397 number. That gave us an average of 1426, so I was right, it was about 75 feet per second below their boss claim, give or take a couple, with an extreme spread of 62 and a standard deviation of 16. So at an average of 1426, here's your muzzle energy for a 1 3/8 ounce slug at that kind of number. If I didn't mention it earlier, that equates to roughly 600 grains, and clearly that is plenty good enough for a deer hunt scenario, or if you wanted to use it for bear hunting or bear protection or anything like that, that would still be plenty good enough. But let's go check out our accuracy results, because I think we saw some pretty interesting stuff over there. Okay, so here's our target. The camera probably looks a little bit off center, but we kind of got to do that in order to get all of our shots in frame here a little bit for y'all. But we'll start over here on the left with our 50-yard group. Now, what was interesting here is this one lone bullet hole right here. That was the very first shot we took. That one did not sound the same. It did not feel the same as far as recoil goes. It was definitely lower than what the rest of them were, that's for sure. And it read lower in the velocity as well. So I decided, after seeing the next shot, which was up here in this cluster, and the velocity and the felt recoil and stuff, I figured we'll just go ahead and take our 3-shot group and kind of exclude that one. Little bit of an oddball there. I'll still measure it both ways so you guys can see, but that is clearly an outlier compared to this other 3 shots right up here, that's for sure. So the overall spread, including that one outlier, is right at 2.6 inches, and our better 3 shots were a hair over an inch at 1.07. So that's more like what I want to see, that's for sure. That 3 shots at 50 is pretty nice, that's for sure. I'll take that any day of the week. But I'm not a big fan of that one inconsistent shot either. However, moving over to the right here with our 100-yard group, we see some very just kind of all over the place results. Now, before I even measure anything, I felt good about all of my trigger pulls. I already checked the scope, the rings, the rail, barrel tension on the magazine cap, the choke, all of it's tight, nothing has moved, so I know the shotgun is perfectly fine. Our first shot was this guy right down here, which does make sense for bullet drop compared to 50 yards. And then we flung one way up here. I think it was this bullet hole right up here. I was like, well, okay, that's not exactly what I want to see. So taking the third shot, we hit this guy, which is clearly sideways. That's a keyhole if I've ever seen one right there. And there is no holes behind that target, because that is not where our previous grouping was on this particular backing sheet. So it's not like it tore the paper weird or anything like that, because there's nothing behind the stick-on target. It was flying sideways. So I'm surprised that we got as kind of accurate of a group as we did there with that one looking like that. So I decided, after seeing that guy, and that sideways one, I'll take one more shot to give it the benefit of the doubt, kind of like we did with our first group at 50, and we hit way all the way up here in the top far right corner. So that is not at all what we want to see for consistency. I definitely don't love that one slug flying sideways, and as far as groups go, it's all over the place. Maybe that little bit heavier slug might have had a harder time getting through the transonic barrier, going from super to subsonic. It's a potential, I guess. Maybe out there they're starting to kind of lose their tail wad pieces a little bit, or something is a little funny with those and how they actually perform on the back of the slug. It's a potential, I guess. Maybe we could have seen a tail wad failure with our first shot over there on the left as well. It could be a case of didn't seal quite as much of the gas behind it as the rest of them did or something. I don't know, but that is clearly not what we want to see. But I had to get the tape measure out for that group, and it's right about 9.5 inches of overall spread right there between our farthest 2 shots apart from center to center. So that is not at all what we'd like to see. I gotta say, I'm pretty disappointed overall here. At 50 yards, sure, we're looking great for accuracy, but we had a little bit of an oddball performer there, and clearly that trend continued out to 100 yards, that's for sure. Now, did we only have one good performer and the rest were all more oddballs, and it was kind of just luck of the draw out there at 100? I don't know. All of my shells came from the same lot number and the same handful of boxes that I bought all at the same time from the same place, so I was not expecting to see that kind of inconsistency. So definitely a little bit of a disappointment here. If you want to use these, I'd say 50-60 yards, you'll be fine. But longer than that, I don't know that I would push it out there, that's for sure. We've seen way better from that 870. I mean, we've gotten sub 3-inch groups down in the 2-inch range out of that gun with previous slugs. So I was definitely hoping for better. Maybe we run these to a rifled choke or a rifled barrel, or a little more or a little less choke constriction than improved cylinder. Maybe we can get them dialed in. But those inconsistencies, I'm not loving. I guess we'll have to see as we continue to test them if that trend continues or not. But not what I was expecting to see here, that's for sure. But that's why you test different things, because sometimes the results don't meet the expectations. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that performance right there? I'd say it was a pretty big letdown. One inconsistent round, I guess you could maybe give it the benefit of the doubt at 50, especially with the next three being touching like that. I definitely had much higher hopes going out towards 100. After seeing 50 yards, if we were getting a little over an inch, we should be in the 2-inch range out there, and that is not even close to what we saw. So something is clearly going finicky after 50 yards, that's for sure. Is it a little bit of inconsistency with how the shell is loaded itself? Maybe the tail wad is going a little bit funny on us, not sealing properly or coming apart or something like that. I didn't find any of the tail wad pieces out on the range. I did look for them, but I don't know that it ever came completely apart necessarily. That is a big factor in the stabilization of a Brenneke slug, is having that tail wad actually perform the way it's supposed to. So that could have been why we threw one completely sideways at 100 yards and the rest are all over the place. I don't know. Definitely some very strange results. Not what I was expecting to see. So I guess if you want to keep it at 50 yards, 60 yards, something like that, it's going to be plenty good enough. Their claim of 1.8 inches at 55 yards, I'd say is pretty accurate. We had what, 1.02 or 1.2 or something at 50. So, I mean, we were right there kind of beating their claim. Out towards 100, a little different story though. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Black Magic slugs? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? Is that a combo you would ever use? Or are they a little bit more inconsistent than what you would like to see? And what other things do you want to see me run those through? Rifle choke, rifle barrel, different choke constriction. I may have to try and track down some more to continue our testing, but let me know what you guys want to see down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.